Welcome to Saints at Manahawkin United Methodist Church. It is my honor and privilege to have wonderful people, the Hauges, John and Susan. Any good memory of church activities you could think of or share with our people? Fun memories or...
Here?
Yeah, here.
Oh my.
Oh, Susan, by the way, I was told that record shows that you're involved in handbell ministry and all other things. Tell us about your handbell. You are the one indeed who started the handbell ministry.
Well, I learned about handbells from when we were still living in Auburn and John was in the Army.
Oh.
And I was living at home.
Mm-hmm.
The Methodist Church was just starting a handbell choir.
Oh.
I didn't know anything about it. So my mother and I went just to see what it was like.
Of course, yeah.
That was the beginning,
Oh.
believe it or not.
So when you came to Manahawkin Methodist Church, we didn't have anything like
No,
that.
there were no handbells.
So what made you think, perhaps we can start this ministry?
Well, because I was crazy, I guess. But I really enjoy church music,
Yes.
all phases of it, and this was so new and different. So I did identify somebody in this congregation who I thought might be interested in helping me finance these handbells. I did succeed in getting them to agree to pay for the first 2 octaves.
2 octaves, yeah.
And they were not the brand that we have now, but these people paid for them.
Oh.
It was wonderful. This church had never heard anything like this before.
Sure, yeah. So when you say 1 octave, played by how many players?
Well, it can be played by as many as you want. But 2 octaves have 16 bells.
Oh, so each octave has 8. Oh, yeah. Where's my music education? 8 notes. Yeah. Oh, I see. All right.
I'd like to interject that when she got going with the bell choir, within a couple of years, she had 3 bell choirs. She had the adult bell choir, she had the high school bell choir, and the young people bell choir. And she just did an amazing job, and she also would fill in as organist at times.
Yeah, that's right.
So she was very, very clever.
I don't want to leave John out here, so...
He's not very clever.
So, John, you're involved in so many different things with the church and so forth. One thing that you would remember...
Well, both Susan and I in our activities over the years have been in each position in the church except the preacher.
Except preacher, that's good.
And they wouldn't allow us to have
you are involved in the trustees too.
Oh, yes.
For the records, perhaps you can explain to us, when you were a trustee chair, we sold the old parsonage and moved into the new one. Tell us about it.
Well, it was a matter of the parsonage was very old. Several of us thought it was time to improve things. Well, improving the old building was not the best thing to do. And one of the parishioners donated the lot that the current one is on. Well, that determined where it was going to go, and the builder who built my veterinary office, I contacted him, and he helped build the parsonage.
Good. That's good. Well, thank you. In which I'm living now. Yeah, thank you. It was 1981. That's when they built the parsonage.
Thank you for helping my memory.
And I looked at the records. All right. I also saw...
I just interject on that note.
Yeah.
We felt that it was very important for the pastors to have adequate housing. This old parsonage was a beautiful old colonial building, but it needed a... And we feel that if you're... And we had some pastors who turned us down when we invited them to come here.
Okay.
Because of the old parsonage.
Oh, is that right?
So it was, the new one was much better.
Absolutely. Again, I don't know what you called it. I saw one of the pictures, church pictures, that John was in, what do you call, court jester thing. Tell us about it. What is the Christmas thing?
Well, that was all Vivian Rutherford's fault.
Who was our former pastor here?
She thought that having a madrigal dinner would be a good idea.
Yeah, that's right.
And we had a fairly active young couple group at that time.
Yeah, yeah.
And there was quite a bit of enthusiasm.
Yes. Okay.
And so when the person who was helping cast for the group, I don't know why, but she asked me to be the jester. And got a outfit for me with the fancy hat.
That's what I saw. All right, before we move on to the life principle and word of wisdom, John and Susan, you were involved in the township parade and all these things. You are the, what do you call that?
Grand Marshal.
Grand Marshal.
We were the Grand Marshals one year.
Yeah.
But when the Founders Day parade first started in Manahawkin, it was probably a year or two before we came. And our kids, when we joined in, Susan had an old-fashioned dress that she made with the hat, and Chris drove the tractor, and Jennifer rode in the trailer.
Is this still so the kids participated in this parade as well? I thought it was more like an institution.
Yeah, it isn't the old small town family affair anymore.
That's right.
I might mention something about Vivian.
Yeah.
That I always remember, and repeated it many. I don't repeat everything she told me, but one thing I do repeat: when we had a going away party for her when she left.
That's right.
We had quite a big get together up at Ocean Acres Country Club.
Mm-hmm.
And when she got up to give a little talk, she said she wanted everyone here to know that she pleased everyone in this church. She said, I pleased some of you when I came, I pleased many of you when I was here, and I'm pleasing the rest of you when I'm leaving. And I think that was a very philosophical remark.
I hope I remember that quote and use the same thing in my farewell party. All right, thanks. One last question I have for both of you is that what was the principles that you live by? I would call life principles. This is always I follow, and it always helped me. Let's begin with Susan, if you have one. You could have more than one.
Well, I think it's do unto others.
Do unto others, golden rule.
That's very important.
Yeah. John, what's your life principle?
Well, I pray every day that God would help me grow in His love and understanding, and also that I could love and understand my fellow man, and not be critical and do harm.
Yeah.
That doesn't work 100%, but that's what I shoot for.
All right. If you want to give the word of wisdom to your children, I mean, you all have grown-up children, but grandchildren as well. What word of wisdom would you give? Besides, like, be good. We always use that.
Words of wisdom.
May I start?
Yeah. John, you can start.
When our second granddaughter was born, I made her a little wooden box with inlay, and I called it a wish and worry box.
Wish and worry box.
And told her a note that through life, if she would take a Post-it note and write down her wish or her worry and put it in the box.
Put it in the box.
And open it up later, a week, 6 months, years later, and look at them.
Yeah.
She would find most of her wishes were granted, and most of her worries were for naught.
How about that? Now, that same granddaughter, how old is she now?
Great-granddaughter.
Great-granddaughter.
She's 3 now.
She has not written down yet.
Not that I know of.
But I think that's a great idea. Maybe even adult could do it.
Oh, anyone.
Right? It doesn't have to be a child. Great idea. I may start my own. Thanks.
Do I have to make you a wish and worry box?
I'm sure I do have wishes and I have worries and so forth. But you're absolutely true that the days later, month later, all the worries you were so worried about, they're not there anymore. Well, thank you. Yeah. Now, Susan, do you have anything that you
due unto weather this would be, and we just spent a weekend with our son and his family, and we are fortunate that we get to see our daughter frequently.
That's
and
good.
Apparently some things that we told them at some point rubbed off, because they're nice people.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Now tell us about, you talked about having 2 children, but how many grandchildren and great-grandchildren?
We have 6 grandchildren, 3 boys, 3 girls.
Yeah.
And the oldest, Shannon, has 2.5 children.
2.5 children. In other words, one is on the way.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, the others, we think are thinking about it, but
I'm sure. Yeah. Do you have anything else you'd like to add on besides the way we talked about?
Well, I would add that we are very happy with our current minister.
Folks, please pay attention to this.
I was paid to say that.
I know. Sorry, I may edit this out. Oh, thank you, sir. I think it goes both ways.
But we have been so fortunate with our relationship to the church and the proximity of the church.
Yeah.
And the people we met.
We've met almost all of the ministers since 1965.
Wow.
That's been interesting and challenging.
True.
But the church is lucky to have you.
Thank you. I think it works both ways. The congregation helped the minister to become who or she is, and vice versa. So thank you. And personally, I thank you both for being a wonderful influence to my family and to my daughter and so forth. Thank you.
I might also add that I wrote a poem many years ago about Susan's family and mine, and how we were lucky enough to grow up in families, loving, caring, God-fearing families.
Absolutely.
That
true.
were role models for us for all that we knew.
That's right.
And that's the way we've tried to be.
Absolutely. I think that tradition continues on, your generation, next generation, and so forth. So thank you so very much for planting the seeds of love and care in your children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Right? All right. You've been together since when? How long you've been in marriage?
61.
61.
62 years this
62 years
Next
this
month.
year. Next month. So if someone asks you, what is the secret to longevity, long marriage together, what would you say? So nowadays in America, average after the wedding, 5 years. Divorce rate is
Really?
so terrible, yeah. But you've been together almost 62. So what would you say? One thing that you would recommend the young folks to remember?
Patience.
And John?
Yes, dear.
Patience. All right, isn't it?
And remember what I said before, that both of us had such wonderful role models.
That's right.
That helped guide us throughout our married life.
Absolutely. Yeah. This will conclude our interview with the Hauges once again. Thank you so very much for coming today. God bless you. Yeah.
Many times he has.
Okay, thanks. Thank you. You want to say or share with us?
I just want to show you my great-great-grandfather's
All right,
Bible.
let's hear it. Woo.
This is my great-great-grandfather's Bible. This was printed in 1811.
1811.
His name was Abner Wells, and my mother wrote that he's where he's buried. And
Gosh.